There is something sick about hatred without cause. It's not an abstract concept or a dramatic exaggeration. It's a psychological reality you've probably felt in your own flesh. Someone looks at you differently, treats you with contempt, sabotages you for no apparent reason. And the worst part isn't the hatred itself. The worst part is that you're left wondering what you did wrong. You toss and turn in bed, replaying every interaction, every word, searching for the exact moment you failed. But here's the truth. Nobody tells you. You did nothing. The hatred you receive has nothing to do with you. It never did. It's the distorted reflection of something broken in them, something they can't face, something that hurts them so much they need to project it onto someone else. And you, without knowing it, became their screen. Carl Jung understood this better than anyone. He spent decades studying the human psyche and discovered something brutal. What we hate in others is nothing more than what we deny in ourselves. He called it the shadow, that dark part we hide beneath layers of justification and performative morality. And when someone hates you for no reason, they aren't seeing you. They're seeing their own shadow reflected in your existence. That means the problem was never you, but that your mere presence triggers something in them they can't stand. It could be your confidence, your authenticity, your ability to move forward without fear. Whatever you represent reminds them of what they are not, and it consumes them. Hatred without cause is always a poorly disguised self-portrait. But let's go deeper. Why do some people become targets of this irrational hatred? What do those who attract contempt without provoking it have in common? The answer is uncomfortable. Those who are hated without reason tend to be the ones who refuse to fit in, the ones who don't ask permission to exist as they are, the ones who move forward without apologizing. In a society built on collective mediocrity, anyone who steps out of the mold is perceived as a threat, not because they're doing harm, but because their existence questions the status quo. And the mass doesn't tolerate that. It would rather destroy what it doesn't understand than question itself. Jung explained it with surgical clarity. When we reject parts of ourselves, those parts don't disappear. They sink into the unconscious, and from there govern our reactions. We project onto others what we can't accept in ourselves. If someone hates you for no reason, ask yourself what they see in you that they can't see in themselves. Are you free where they are trapped? Are you authentic where they are pretending? Do you move without fear where they freeze? Each of those qualities is a cruel mirror for someone living in denial. And instead of looking at their reflection and changing, they'd rather break the mirror. You are that mirror. Now here's what really stings. These people don't act from consciousness. They act from resentment. Friedrich Nietzsche was right when he said resentment is the poison of the soul. It's hatred fermented, aged in impotence, fed by constant comparison. The person who hates you for no reason is trapped in a mental loop where they measure their worth against yours, and every time you move forward, they feel like they're losing ground. It doesn't matter that you're not competing. To them, everything is a competition, and since they can't beat you on your terrain, they try to destroy you on theirs. Gossip, manipulation, silent sabotage. Watch the patterns. Those who hate you without cause share specific behaviors, and recognizing them is crucial to protecting your energy. First, they never confront you directly. They're masters of the sideways attack. They talk about you behind your back, twist your words, build false narratives about who you are. They do it because direct confrontation requires courage, and they don't have it. Their hatred is cowardly by nature. Second, they dehumanize you. They stop seeing you as a complex person with nuance and reduce you to a one-dimensional villain in the story they tell themselves. They need that simplification to justify their contempt. If they saw you fully, they'd have to accept their hatred has no foundation, and that would destroy the narrative that props up their identity. Third, and this is key, they feel threatened by your indifference. Nothing bothers them more than you not reacting to their poison. They want to see you fall, doubt, get affected. Because if they can't move you, they lose power. Jung would say this is because your stability shows them their internal chaos. While you keep moving without drama, they're falling apart inside, and that difference drives them insane. So they try to provoke you, hunt for the crack, the weakness, any sign they can break you. And when they can't find it, they escalate. The hatred grows because the impotence grows. Fourth, they never take responsibility. In their narrative, they're always the victims. You are the invisible aggressor, the one to blame for their discomfort. This role reversal is a primitive defense mechanism. If they admitted their hatred comes from them, they'd have to face their shadow, and that requires a kind of brutal honesty most people aren't willing to practice. It's easier to point at you than to look at themselves. It's more comfortable to project than to introspect. And so they live trapped in a self-imposed cycle of victimhood, blaming the world for what they themselves generate. Fifth, they envy you without admitting it. Envy is the silent fuel of hatred without cause. They don't hate you for what you did. They hate you for what you have or what you represent. It could be your inner peace, your mental clarity, your ability to say no, your emotional freedom. Whatever it is that you possess, and they don't, becomes the target. And here's the twisted part. They don't want what you have for themselves. They want you to lose it. Destructive envy doesn't seek to rise, it seeks to level down. If they can't climb to your level, they drag you to theirs. Schopenhauer warned that envy is the most contemptible of vices because it doesn't seek personal benefit. It seeks only the harm of another. Sixth, and this is devastating, they spread their toxicity. They recruit allies, build tribes of resentment. They need external validation to sustain their hatred. One enemy isn't enough. They need to create an army of voices that reaffirm their distorted narrative. And here's the trap. If they convince enough people, their lie becomes social truth. It doesn't matter that it's false. If many believe it, it gains weight. That's why structured gossip is dangerous. Not because what they say matters, but because they build alternative realities where you are the villain they need you to be. Now, let's stop on something fundamental. What do you do when you identify someone who hates you for no reason? Do you confront them? Defend yourself? Try to change their perception? The answer is none of the above. Here's the truth that will make you uncomfortable. You can't reason with projection. When someone hates you without cause, they're not seeing you. They're seeing their own mental construction. And no logical argument dismantles that. Projection is unconscious, and the unconscious doesn't respond to reason. Jung knew it. As long as the shadow isn't integrated, it will keep projecting. And that integration is inner work only they can do. You can't do it for them, no matter how much you explain or justify yourself. So what's the way out? Distance. Not necessarily physical distance, but emotional distance. Unhook from their narrative. Stop giving weight to their perception. Let go of the need to be understood by someone who doesn't want to understand you. This isn't cold indifference, it's energy conservation. Every minute you spend trying to change the mind of someone who hates you without reason is a minute you steal from your own life. And here's the trick. The less you react, the less power they have. Hatred needs fuel, And that fuel is you responding, you being affected, giving it importance. Remove the fuel, and the fire dies on its own. But here comes something deeper. What if hatred without cause isn't only their problem, but also your teacher? Jung believed everything that affects us has something to teach us. If someone hates you without reason and it shakes you, ask why. What button are they pressing? What part of you activates under their contempt? Because if you're completely solid in your identity, their hatred would be irrelevant. The fact that it affects you signals a crack. I'm not saying the hatred is justified. I'm saying your reaction to it reveals something about you. Maybe you still seek external validation. Maybe you still need to be accepted by everyone. Maybe your identity isn't as consolidated as you think. Other people's hatred can be an uncomfortable mirror showing where you're still weak. Now, let's talk about what nobody wants to accept. There are people who simply enjoy hating. It's not that they have deep reasons or unresolved trauma. Some build their entire identity around resentment. They are addicted to drama, conflict, the sensation of moral superiority they get from pointing out others' flaws. Jung would call this identification with the shadow. Instead of integrating it, they embrace it. They become the darkness they should be working on. And with these people, there's no redemption, not because they're evil, but because they chose that path consciously. They've invested so much in their hatred that letting it go would mean losing their identity. And nobody gives up their identity without a brutal existential crisis. Do you remember the last time someone treated you with contempt for no apparent reason? Did you notice how you couldn't get it out of your head? You replayed every detail, every gesture, every word, searching for the moment everything went wrong. That obsession is the trap. Because while you're turning it over, they've already forgotten you. For you, it's an unresolved mystery. For them, it was a passing impulse. You don't matter enough for their hatred to be personal. And there's the brutal irony. Hatred without cause is impersonal by nature. You're interchangeable. Anyone else in your position would have gotten the same treatment. That doesn't make you less valuable. It makes you irrelevant in their equation. And understanding that is liberating. Here comes the philosophical part that will make you rethink everything. Seneca wrote that we are affected more by what we imagine than by what actually happens. Other people's hatred hurts you less than the story you tell yourself about that hatred. You build narratives where you are the culprit, where something in you provoked their rejection, where if only you were different, they would accept you. All lies. Hatred without cause doesn't need your participation to exist. It exists before you show up, and it will exist after you leave. It's an autonomous phenomenon fed by internal problems that have nothing to do with you. So why do you keep taking responsibility for something that was never under your control? Most people live with fear of rejection. It's primitive, etched into our brains from tribal times when being excluded meant death. But we don't live in tribes anymore, and rejection isn't lethal. Yet we still react as if it were. Jung would say this is the collective unconscious at work, ancestral patterns that survive in us without updating. The problem is those patterns don't distinguish between real threat and social threat. To your primitive brain, someone's contempt equals being expelled from the tribe, and that triggers all the alarms. But you can reprogram that. You can train your mind to distinguish between rejection that matters and rejection that is noise. Not every no deserves your emotional attention. Think about it like this. If 10 people reject you and 99 are indifferent, why do you focus all your energy on those 10? Because the brain has a negativity bias. Evolution designed us to remember threats, not to celebrate neutrality. So you give more weight to hatred than to the benign indifference of everyone else. That's a massive cognitive error. You're letting a noisy minority dictate your emotional state while ignoring the silent majority that has no problem with you. Reset your priorities. The causeless hatred of a few shouldn't eclipse the peace you have with the rest. Now, an unexpected twist. What if I told you that being hated without reason is a sign you're on the right path? It sounds contradictory, but think about it. Mediocre people don't generate hatred. They generate indifference. Hatred requires energy, and they only spend energy on you if you represent something that unsettles them. If nobody hates you, you're probably not doing anything relevant. You're so integrated into the mass that you're invisible. But when you stand out, when you move with authenticity, when you stop asking permission, you automatically become a target. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something different. And different scares, discomforts, challenges. The great figures of history were fiercely hated in their time. Socrates was executed, Galileo persecuted, Van Gogh ignored. Hatred without cause is often the price of authenticity. But be careful about romanticizing hatred. Not all rejection is a medal of honor. Some people are hated because they're genuinely unbearable, not because they're misunderstood visionaries. The difference is self-awareness. If you receive constant rejection from multiple sources with no common pattern, maybe the problem is you. But if the hatred comes from a specific type of person, if there's a pattern in who attacks you, then you're touching a collective wound. And that is valuable information. It tells you what you threaten in the system, what you unsettle, where the real power is. Back to Jung. He said individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, always generates conflict. Because to individuate means separating from the mass, and the mass hates separation. The mass wants conformity, uniformity, predictability. Anyone who steps out of that structure is seen as a traitor. It doesn't matter that your separation is peaceful. It doesn't matter that you're not trying to convince anyone. The simple act of being different is perceived as an attack. That's why individuation is a lonely path. Those who truly come to know themselves do so at the cost of social rejection. And those who choose social acceptance do so at the cost of losing themselves. There is no comfortable middle ground. So when someone hates you without reason, ask, what part of me reminds them of what they don't dare to be? Because that is always the answer. Your courage reminds them of their cowardice. Your peace reminds them of their chaos. Your authenticity reminds them of their falseness. And instead of doing the work to close that gap, they choose to hate you. It's easier, faster, more comfortable. Hatred requires no introspection, only projection. And projection is the favorite sport of those who run from themselves. Here's something you probably didn't expect. Forgiveness is unnecessary. Not because you should carry resentment, but because there is nothing to forgive. Forgiving implies someone harmed you consciously, that there was malicious intention aimed specifically at you. But hatred without cause doesn't work like that. It's blind, automatic, impersonal. It's like forgiving a storm for getting you wet. The storm has nothing against you. It's just being a storm. Same with these people. They're being what they are, and what they are has nothing to do with you. Letting go of the need to forgive frees you from the victim narrative. You weren't attacked. You were the screen onto which they projected their pain. There's an abyss of difference. Now the practical part. How do you shield yourself from hatred without cause? First, build an identity so solid that external opinions bounce off. This isn't arrogance, it's self-knowledge. When you know who you are, what others think becomes irrelevant. Second, develop brutal selectivity about which voices you let in. Not every opinion deserves consideration. If someone hasn't walked your path, Their judgment is invalid. Third, stop seeking universal understanding. Not everyone will understand you, and that's fine. Understanding isn't a right, it's an occasional gift. Fourth, accept that conflict is inevitable. If you live authentically, you will clash with those who live behind masks. It's part of the process, not a mistake to correct. Fifth, and most important, stop giving explanations to hatred. You don't owe clarity to someone who doesn't want to see. Your energy is finite. Invest it in those who build, not those who destroy. Sixth, understand that hatred without cause says more about the hater than the hated. When someone despises you without motive, they are publishing their emotional autobiography. You don't have to read it. There's one last detail that changes everything. Hatred without cause loses power when you stop needing universal love. As long as you keep trying to be liked by everyone, you'll stay vulnerable to every rejection. But when you accept that being loved by everyone is impossible and unnecessary, hatred stops hurting. It becomes data, not a wound. Marcus Aurelius summarized it perfectly. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Don't imitate the hatred. Don't adopt the resentment. Don't become what hurt you. That's the only real victory. So the next time someone hates you for no reason, be grateful. Because that hatred is an inverted mirror showing your progress. If they hate you without cause, it means you moved, you unsettled, you broke molds. And that's exactly what you should be doing. The world doesn't change with comfortable people. It changes with people willing to be hated for doing what's right. You decide which side you're on. But here's what really separates the conscious from the sleeping. Recognizing that hatred without cause is a gift in disguise. Yes, a gift, because it shows you exactly who doesn't deserve your energy. It's an automatic filter that exposes toxic people before they can infiltrate your inner circle. Imagine how much time and pain you save when someone shows you their true nature from the start. You don't have to find out after months or years of emotional investment. They serve it to you on a platter in the first encounter. Jung would talk about synchronicity here, the universe conspiring to protect you through clear signals. Ignore those signals at your own risk. Modern psychology confirms what Jung intuited. People project when they don't have the emotional vocabulary to process what they feel. Emotional alexithymia, the inability to name one's own feelings, leads to externalizing them as attacks. They don't know they're jealous, so they translate it into hatred. They don't recognize their envy, so they disguise it as moral judgment. They don't accept their self-perceived inferiority, so they convert it into aggression. Every hatred without cause is a desperate scream from something they can't articulate internally. And you are there, becoming the collateral victim of their emotional illiteracy. Now think about this. How many times have you misread other people's hatred as a truth about you? How times have you looked in the mirror through the eyes of someone who despises you? This is the greatest mistake, internalizing external toxicity. When you allow other people's hatred to define how you see yourself, you've lost the game. You've handed control of your self-image to people who don't even know you. And here's the brutal fact. Most of those who hate you don't know you. They hate an idea, a projection, a fictional version they built in their head. That version isn't you, but you carry the consequences. Neuroscience has shown something fascinating. The human brain is programmed to complete incomplete patterns. When someone doesn't know you but needs to hate you, their brain fills the blanks with invented information. It projects intentions you never had, motives that never existed, traits you never possessed, and then reacts to that fiction as if it were real. That explains why explaining yourself is useless. They aren't responding to reality. They're responding to their mental construction. And no amount of clarification dismantles a construction that serves a psychological purpose for them. Jung also spoke of the concept of negative synchronicity, when you repeatedly attract the same kind of hatred from different people. If that happens to you, you have to go deeper. It doesn't mean you're defective. It means there's something in your energy that resonates with the unintegrated shadow of a specific type of person. Maybe your freedom threatens controllers. Maybe your peace irritates the chaotic. Maybe your success confronts the mediocre. The pattern tells you what kind of collective shadow you're colliding with. And that is powerful information. It tells you exactly what you represent in the collective unconscious. Now, an uncomfortable truth about human nature. There is a dark pleasure in hating. It sounds disturbing, but it's real. Hatred releases dopamine when it's morally justified. When someone convinces themselves their hatred is legitimate, they experience a chemically rewarding sense of moral superiority. That's why hatred without cause always searches for retrospective justifications. First they hate you, then they look for reasons. The order is reversed, but the mind rationalizes it forward. That inversion is what makes hatred without cause so persistent. No matter how much you change, they will find new reasons, because the hatred comes before the reason, not after it. Here's something that will change your perspective. Hatred without cause is contagious. It spreads like a social virus. One person hates you, tells their distorted version to others, and suddenly you have an entire group against you. None of them really knows you, but all of them adopted the narrative of patient zero. This is especially dangerous in closed environments, families, workplaces, small communities. Once hatred takes root, creating a parallel reputation that contradicts it is almost impossible. That's why the best defense is physical or emotional distance before the infection spreads. Stoic philosophy offers a powerful tool here: value judgment. Epictetus taught that nothing is good or bad in itself. Only our judgment makes it so. When someone hates you without reason, the fact itself is neutral. Your interpretation is what turns it into pain. If you interpret hatred as evidence of your defect, you suffer. If you interpret it as evidence of their defect, you become immune. The power lies in interpretation, and interpretation is always under your control. Always. Even when nothing else is. Let's deepen the mechanics of resentment. Nietzsche called it slave morality. When someone can't compete with you in real terms, they redefine the terms to make you the villain. Your success becomes arrogance. Your confidence becomes conceit. Your peace becomes indifference. They transform your qualities into defects through malicious reinterpretation. And they do it because changing the narrative is easier than changing their reality. The resentful person can't rise, so they redefine low as high. They can't reach you, so they declare where you stand isn't worth it. This inversion of values is their only way to stay sane. Do you know what's most dangerous about hatred without cause? It can make you doubt your sanity. When enough people treat you like you're the problem, you start wondering if maybe you are. This is collective gaslighting. They make you question your perception of reality. They make you think you might have done something terrible you don't remember, that you might deserve the contempt. This is especially effective when the hatred comes from authority figures or large groups. Social pressure can make you betray your own truth. Resisting that requires a spine of steel. Jung warned about ego inflation as a response to attack. When you're attacked without cause, there's a temptation to inflate yourself, become defensive, build an even bigger ego as armor. That's a trap. An inflated ego is fragile. It needs constant validation and breaks easily. Real protection doesn't come from making yourself bigger. It comes from making yourself more solid. The difference is crucial. Big can be hollow. Solid is dense. Build inner density, not outer size. There's a question that changes everything. What would you do differently if you knew with absolute certainty that the hatred you receive has nothing to do with you? Answer honestly. Would you keep apologizing? Would you keep trying to change? Would you keep losing sleep? Probably not. So why do you do it now? Because you still hope that if you find the reason, you can fix it. Let go of that hope. It's a chain disguised as optimism. Some things can't be fixed because they were never broken by you. Hatred without cause doesn't seek a solution. It seeks a target. And that target can be you or anyone else who fits their projection. You are fungible in their psychosis. The hardest reality: there are people who will never give you the benefit of the doubt. No matter your history, intentions, or actions, they've placed you into a mental category, and every piece of evidence will be interpreted to confirm that category. This is called confirmation bias, and it's one of the strongest cognitive biases there is. Once someone decides who you are, they'll search for and find infinite evidence to confirm it. Anything that contradicts their belief will be discarded or reinterpreted. Against that, there's no argument. There's only retreat. So what's the master move? Become someone so indifferent to other people's hatred that you don't even register it as a threat. Not out of arrogance, but out of clarity. When you know who you are with such certainty that external opinions simply don't get in, you've won. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a process of years. But every time you choose your truth over someone else's narrative, you get closer. Every time you refuse to defend what doesn't need defending, you grow stronger. Every time you release the need to be understood by someone who doesn't want to understand, you expand. Hatred without cause is one of the most disorienting experiences because it breaks the cause and effect logic we base our social interactions on. We believe that if we are good, we'll receive goodness. If we are fair, we'll receive fairness. But the world doesn't work like that. The world is full of people operating from their unintegrated shadows, projecting their pain without discrimination. And you, by pure chance or by traits you can't change, become the receiver. There's no justice in that, no logic, no moral lesson. It simply is. Accepting that randomness is maturity,